only the second chapter. Do you have to insult me already? Maybe I'm just traumatized, but ain't no way she remembered all that from when she was 5. I can do sexual intimacy just fine, but emotional intimacy is where I draw the freaking line. I don't know, something is going on with my body right now. I feel honestly like reading this book is deteriorating my health. I can't believe I had the same exact thought as the main character, because I don't want to be associated with her in any way. Hi, hello, and welcome to this video. I am here just as a preface because you are going to witness some technical ineptitude on my part. Because I have this fuck-ass microphone that I bought from the supermarket literally for like $20 because I can't afford a better microphone. I can't even afford a camera, okay? So I thought if I could just get just like a little bit extra audio, even if it's from the supermarket, you know? Because sometimes supermarket shit, it surprises you, okay? There is some quality shit in there. So I thought, why not? Let's just try it out. But I literally had to cut out like most of the audio from the video as you see it, because the audio was freaking shit. To no one's surprise, actually. I will include some of the audio just so that you can understand just how terrible the audio is, but fear not, it will not be for the whole video, okay? That's all I wanted to say. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. I have a microphone here. It's a very cheap one from like the supermarket. I think it was like $20 or something. So we're gonna try this. And oh wait, oh fuck, I don't have a USB. Wait, yes I do. Curse you, Apple products. What the hell is this? Why do I have to have this in order to use a freaking microphone? Oh shit, it's like disassembled. Wait, how the fuck do I use this? Hello, testing. Is it in voice memos? Do I have to do this in voice memos? Wait, I don't think this is on. Bro, all I want is like good audio. Is that too much to ask? My god, how does this work? Taro's iPhone microphone. No. Hello? Hello? Oh, is it actually working? Hello? 1, 2, 3. Testing. Is it working? Can you hear me? Alright, we're doing this. Hello and welcome to this video. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties, but it's because I'm trying to like upgrade these videos in just the infinitesimal amount. By the way, do you like my outfit? Do you like my shirt? I was like, if we're going to do the okay, hello. Can you hear me? I don't know, it just stopped all of a sudden. Listen, I was thinking, sorry, someone is like hammering outside. If you can hear that, just ignore it. If you can't, just ignore what I said. I was like, if I'm going to do this video, I have to do it in style. And what better style than like a polyester duck shirt that I got online like 3 years ago. And like my duck earrings to match. If you clicked on this video, you probably saw the title and the thumbnail and was like, ooh, yeah, I want someone to roast the hell out of this book. Well, fear not, because I am here. I am your knight in shining armor. Don't you worry. I'm coming. Or, wait, don't you worry. Don't you worry. I'll do that for you. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Because when I read this book, I was like, what the hell? What the hell is this? So I have to, don't tell me. Don't fucking tell me. Resume, bitch. Don't stop until I say stop. Technical difficulties might be a problem in this video. It just gives it a little bit of spice to this video. It's fine. You're here for the shenanigans. Let's start with the history, or my history specifically, of this book and coming across this book. I did not know anything about this book before I dove into it. The only reason I even read it is because it was a part of my book club, and I was like, I haven't read in 5 months. I guess this is as good a book as any, you know? Why was I wrong? 'Cause this book is genuinely awful. I was honestly, like, while I was reading this book, I thought I was crazy.
I honestly thought I was hallucinating this whole book, because no way is anyone that stupid, as in like the main character. No way is anyone writing this, publishing it. Ain't no way people are reading this and thinking this was such a good read. I honestly thought I was crazy. If you don't know, Silver Elite is supposedly a dystopian. To what extent that is true is very debatable. I would debate against it. This is not a dystopian. I have no idea what this is, if this fits into anything. It doesn't even really fit into erotica, because like 90% of this book is just nonsensical like world building. Silver Elite is a dystopian, supposedly. A dystopian adult book that was apparently pitched as The Hunger Games, but Katniss has sex with people. And I did not know any of this before I read this book, okay? I did not know anything about I went into this book blind. And I feel like most people who rated this 5 stars must have been blind as well. Honestly, I'm just gonna call her Katniss throughout this whole video, because why not? I feel like that's funny, because I also don't remember her freaking name. It was something stupid too, like, but we're just gonna call her Katniss because that's a cooler name. But anyway, so Katniss, we're open on Katniss. She's like waking up in this bed with some stranger. She does know them, but she doesn't like them because he is is it like a commander? He's like a peacekeeper. We kind of figure out that Katniss, she has just slept with a peacekeeper and she's like trying to sneak out of there. I will read to you the opening paragraph to this book, because I already had an issue in like the first fucking paragraph, okay? I will read it to you and you tell me if you can point out what bothered me about this paragraph, alright? Okay, here we go. I grew up in pure, unceasing, suffocating darkness. I'd like to say that's an exaggeration, but it's not. I was only 5 years old when my uncle smuggled me out of the city and took me to live in the Black Lands, the place of children's nightmares, a forest of perpetual darkness. I remember my eyes widening when I first saw it. The ominous black mist rising from the earth and hovering far above the top canopy of the trees. Tell me if you spotted what bothered me in this paragraph. If you guessed, I remember my eyes widening when I first saw it, then you are the freaking winner, because what the hell does that mean? Why does this keep happening? Like, why?
Oh.
Hello? Okay, I think I know the issue with this microphone. It's because the wire is like really touchy, so I gotta be careful with how I jostle around. Anyway, back to the freaking paragraph, and I remember my eyes widening. Why is that what you remember? Why do you remember your eyes widening and not like what you saw? So apparently, like, her uncle took her to something called the Black Lands, which is basically just a ripoff of the Shadow and Bone Shadowland. What the fuck was it called in Shadow and Bone? You know that place in Shadow and Bone that is just filled with darkness and like creatures? Yeah, that's basically what the Blacklands are. So it's not only the Hunger Games, but it is also Shadow and Bone, apparently. But apparently her uncle took her to live there when she was at the age of 5. So apparently there's like, in this Blacklands, there's like filled with skulls and like dark creatures and stuff like that. And at one point she like finds a skull in the dirt or whatever, and her uncle is like, that's just a rock. And she says, even at the age of 5, I wasn't that easy to fool. Maybe I'm just traumatized, but ain't no way she remembered all that from when she was 5. And then she goes on a whole freaking rant about how badass she is. She's like, these days a predator could lunge for my throat and I wouldn't blink.
Oh, she's so edgy. She's not like other girls. She's tough and traumatized. Yes. Oh my god.
Oh, this is going to be a fucking bitch to edit. Ooh, maybe I can put it somewhere. Wait, hold on. Do have a stand, but I have to freaking assemble it like a freaking IKEA furniture. Assembling furniture is not my strong suit. Okay, I was built for sitting down and talking about books. I was not built for building.
Okay, this might be better because then I can also freely talk with my hands. which I usually do. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, she's going on this whole rant about like how freaking badass she is. And she even says at one point, I would rather fight a cougar barehanded than subject myself to an uncomfortable exchange. Truly. Oh my god, she's so relatable. She's such a relatable queen. The first impression I got of this Walmart Katniss is that she is very self-satisfied and egocentric a little bit. She thinks she is so badass and she can kick anybody's asses. But the thing is, when she's trying to get away from this fella, this peacekeeper, because she's like, I don't do emotional intimacy. I can do sexual intimacy just fine, but emotional intimacy is where I draw the freaking line. She's like slinging her rifle over her shoulder just as she's about to leave. She comes up with a really fucking stupid lie as well. She's like, oh, I'm just going to the bathroom. And he's like, with your gun? And she's like, I go nowhere without my gun. Okay? This gun is a part of me. I'm like, you could have just said that you have an appointment or something. She says, I pick up my rifle and sling the strap over my shoulder. I notice him watching me. And I put a little note here and it says, wow, it's like I'm there. And he's kind of looking at her oddly. And she's like, what? Why are you staring at me? And he's like, well, you don't really see girls with guns in the city. Oh my god. She's so different. I love her. We find out that her uncle's name is Jim. Honestly, that is the least stupid fucking name in this whole book. Anyway, and then, you know, the peacekeeper, he's like trying to keep her there because like I don't know, he wants to cuddle or whatever. And then she's like, no, I gotta go back to my ranch. And he's like, I'll have to come to your ranch one day, see whatever it is you get up to out there. And she's like, the nonchalant remark raises my suspicions. Why does he want to come to the ranch? Was that an innocent comment or do I need to worry? And you get like no freaking explanation for why she finds this suspicious at all. And so because she's suspicious, she says, when it comes to the command, I err on the side of paranoia. So I quickly open a path to prod at his mind. And at this point, I'm like, what the fuck? She's a freaking mind reader? It was probably in the synopsis, to be fair. I just didn't read the synopsis. So excuse me if I was a little bit taken aback by the freaking mind reading in this book. Oh my god. And then you find out that she like literally read his mind while they were having sex. And she used that as like an ego boost. But she's so badass, she's so different, she's so relatable. Literally, like, while she's trying to escape this guy, she's like, I hate those assholes, and most of them hate me right back. So you kind of find out that there's something in this world called the mods, who are the telepathic people who can, like, telepathically link with other people. And there are those who are the primes, who don't have any like special abilities. And basically the primes in this world are the first class citizens, if that makes sense. Like they are the ones who are ruling the country. They are the ones who are like trying to extinguish the mods. So it's a genocide story. But the thing is, this Walmart Katniss is not just freaking badass. She's not just a mod. She is different because she actually sleeps with the people who are killing her and people like her. And that's so subversive, honestly. I can't think of a more subversive action, to be honest. They're dedicated to wiping out people like me, the aberrant, as they call us, or silverbloods when they're feeling nice. In order to escape the peacekeeper, she runs into this other room, but what she failed to recognize is that that room was occupied. So her ass is being pinned up against the wall, and she describes it like this. Barging into a stranger's quarters probably isn't the smartest strategy, but it was a split-second decision, and one I deeply regret when a muscular arm locks around my chest. And he is like, who the fuck are you? Are you here to kill me? I'm going to try to do like a deep voice. So he says, don't move, a male voice says. Once again, I act reflexively. My fist slices upward. Her fist slices upward. Her fist slices upward. Fist slices upward. What the fuck does that mean? She's like trying to fruit ninja his ass. How is this slicing anything? We've just opened the whole book with her like bragging about how much of a badass she is, but then like literally the first opportunity that the book has to show us that any of this is true, she literally gets her ass kicked. And he's like, who the fuck are you? He growls in my ear. He growls. He growls. He growls. Okay, he growls. Who the fuck are you? I love the writing in this book already. Okay, and then she's like, my heart batters my ribcage. I suck in a breath, licking my dry lips. The words die when I lift my gaze to his face. Oh, I think I picked the wrong candidate for tonight's activities. This guy is inconceivably attractive. She lays eyes on this motherfucker and she just thinks that he's the hottest piece of ass that has ever walked on this world, like just immediately. And she's like, oh, I think I picked the wrong candidate because you know I only sleep with peacekeepers. This is the start of a very, very thirsty journey. I finally understand like what kind of book this is. So now I'm just having fun, okay? What is typical of these books is that we have to have very, very specific smells, right? So this bitch, Katniss, she is literally like sniffing him and she's like, he smells like pine and leather and a hint of spice. But also, who the fuck is out here smelling like leather? What does leather even smell like? Like, I have a leather jacket and I wear that frequently, okay? And nobody has ever told me that I smell like leather. So anyway, she's struggling against him. She's like bragging again about how she was trained by her uncle and she's such a badass, and if this was any other day she could have laid his ass down. And I'm like, so why didn't you? So why didn't you lay his ass down? I'm waiting. Like that's just an example of like the writing in this book. Honestly, I am already losing fucking steam for this book. I don't know if I can talk about it for hours because we're nearing 30 minutes, bitch, and I'm only in the first chapter. His chuckle tickles my shoulder blades. I have nothing to say to that. That honestly speaks for itself. So she manages to escape that guy's clutches, but she doesn't like escape the peacekeeper she was sleeping with. But then all of a sudden, like, oh, bro, what is going on with my stomach right now? I think reading this book is actually like physically bad for me. Anyway, so she's like describing, apparently there's like this festival going on, and all of a sudden she's like, it's like filled with these peacekeepers. And she says, unease washes over me at the dozen soldiers milling about. Most of them seem harmless, but there are too many blue uniforms here tonight for my comfort. First of all, how do soldiers seem harmless? How does that work exactly? Because like, I'm pretty sure the whole point of the profession of being a soldier is that you can cause harm. And also, if the sight of them makes you so uneasy, why do you sleep with them? And then she says, I wish they'd go back to the city and leave us the hell fuck alone. And I'm like, where are you gonna sleep with then? Can you decide? Do you want them there so that you can sleep with them, or do you want them gone? And also, do you think they're threatening, or do you just think they're harmless? She is just like totally inconsistent. Her inner monologue never makes any sense because she is constantly contradicting herself, even in like the same paragraph as I just read to you. So it wasn't enough that she has survived living in the shadow fold for like, I think it was 5 years or 3 years or whatever, but she also has to be extra fucking special, because when she uses her mind telepathy powers, she is the only one who doesn't like show silver veins. When they use telepathy, their veins start showing silver, I guess. I don't know, it's very vague. But she is the only one who doesn't show that. Like, her veins do not show anything. So she can, like, use her telepathy without giving herself away, basically, because she's extra special. While she's explaining this, she's like, whatever the reason for the anomaly, I can't deny. It makes me, well, not to be cocky, but invaluable. Who is this invaluable to? Like, if you were a part of like the rebellion or whatever, I would understand, but she's not. She also starts this book by being hella like ungrateful for her uncle, who she says multiple times saved her life and has basically done everything that he's done for her to protect her. And she's like, I love Uncle Jim to death, but I'm my own person. Because feminism, I guess. While she's like trying to get away from this peacekeeper, I don't know why she doesn't just say, hey, it was fun, but I'm not looking for anything serious. Like, this was just like a one-night stand for me. I don't know why she doesn't just say that. I don't understand why she has to like lead him on. This is also foreshadowing for the rest of the book, by the way. While she's trying to escape this guy, all of a sudden a kid is like attacked by a wolf. Katniss, who is our badass protagonist, because she's so special and she has a gun around her shoulder, she's like, I can save him. And she's standing, I think she's standing like a very far away, and she takes aim, and she, like, if she wasn't special, she couldn't have gotten that shot, but she gets it. Like, she takes the shot. Everyone thinks she's gonna kill the kid because no way in hell can she make that shot. But no, because Katniss is special, okay? She is so freaking good at shooting. She's been shooting since she was 5 years old. She is a mod, right? She has this telepathy that is being hunted by these peacekeepers, right? They're literally trying to extinguish this group of people because they think that they are unnatural or whatever. But then she literally attracts attention to herself by making this impossible shot. From this shot, she literally attracts the attention of everyone who was there to witness it. Everyone is like, that was an amazing shot. Like, how the fuck did you do that? And you shot it straight through its eye, like you hit bullseye. Like, how did you do that? And stuff. And she's just trying to be like, no, it was just a fluke shot, you know, it's nothing special, I don't know how I did it, you know. She's basically just trying to backtrack, but it's like, girl, you can't backtrack now. Like, you've set the motion. The peacekeeper, he was there to witness it, and he's like, wow, that was so amazing. And then she's like, I really do need to stop sleeping with soldiers. Next time I'm feeling ... needy ... I might have to look elsewhere. Why don't you already do that? There are a few unattached men in the village, but Tana says they're interested in something more serious. I don't want anything serious. I'm only 20. Other people's relationships seem suffocating, and I've witnessed so many women bending to a man's every whim. I don't bend. Not yet, you aren't. Oh yeah, so while she's going back to her uncle's ranch or whatever, she starts linking with this person who she names Wolf. And apparently they've been linked since they were children. But anyway, so they link up and they talk a little bit about it, and they have the most boring ass fucking conversation. He's like, you still out? And she's like, no, driving home. Well, damn, you've already broken his heart? You work fast. Oh, shut up. Like, you don't break hearts on a nightly basis. I'm celibate. Ha! You're always laughing at me. Stop it. Stop saying ludicrous things. Like, wow, what a riveting fucking conversation. He's like, seriously, how was your night? I need to live vicariously through you. It's been a couple of months for me. And she says, I'm surprised, or she thinks, I'm surprised. From the smug way he brags about it, he's very popular with women. You believe him? Honestly, like, if a man came up to me and was like, yeah, I just get pussy left and right, I am pulling all the bitches, I would not believe that man. Because, like, if you really were pulling bitches, why are you talking about it so much? She's gullible as hell. But anyway, at one point, he also calls her an arrogant bitch. I love it when a man calls me a bitch. Yeah, and she goes home to her uncle Jim, and she basically tells him that she took an impossible shot and that she might have, like, accidentally, totally, like, unnecessarily attracted a lot of attention on herself. And he's like, why the fuck would you do that? You know that we are in hiding. And she's like, I'm sorry. What, you think I should have just let that kid die? And he's like, yes. And he's like, I don't want you to drawing attention to myself. I finish, grumbling under my breath. Yes, I get it. But I'm an adult and I know how to handle myself. In case you've forgotten, I work for the network. I can tell you right now, spoiler alert, she doesn't know how to fucking handle herself. She might be an adult, but she does not act like it at all throughout the whole book. She's like arguing about how she has to go into the city to be closer to the network. And he's like, sure, until you accidentally incite, and then how do you talk your way out of that? And then we find out that she is extra fucking special on top of being extra fucking special because she has this extra power. Ooh. Oh, sorry, this book is making me physically ill. But she has this extra power that enables her to basically control other people. Inciting is basically she tells them to do something and then they do it. Yeah, so he's like, you have this extremely, like, powerful ability that you can't control. If you go to the city, you might, like, expose yourself because you might accidentally trigger this power, and then how do you get out of that? And she's like, you're so dramatic. Anyway, so then the next day, immediately she goes out for, like, a ride on her horse, and all of a sudden, her uncle links to her in her mind, and he's like, don't come back home because the soldiers are here, the peacekeepers are here, and they're looking for you. And she's like, what the fuck? Are you okay? I'm coming back. Absolutely not. Stay put. Yeah, forget that. She's so stupid. It wasn't enough that you had to draw attention to yourself, even though your uncle has spent literally your whole life trying to keep you under wraps. But then you also put yourself in danger and basically unravel everything that he's worked for by ignoring his advice and literally walking into the peacekeeper's trap. And then she gets to her ranch and she basically watches her ranch from afar. It's like several hundred yards away. And I'm not American, so I don't know how much a yard is, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty fucking far away. And her being able to see several hundred yards away is impossible. But she explains that away. She's like, but moths have perfect eyesight. We don't need pesky things like glasses. It's only the second chapter. Do you have to insult me already? And she's like, why are they here? And he's like, they came to watch you shoot. Horror slams into me. This is because of me? She's so stupid. She's so dumb. I can't take this anymore. I feel actually physically ill. And they take him away and she's like panicking. And she's going to her best friend, or she links with her best friend, and she's like, they fucking took my uncle. And she's like, who? I read it like that, but it's not because she doesn't know who her uncle is. It's because she's like asking, who? Like, who took him, kind of. But I read it in my mind like, who? They took who? So she runs away and she's like trying to escape. She doesn't go back to the ranch, but she goes to like this tunnel, I guess, to meet up with her best friend's dad, who will meet her there and like try to get her away because now they were found out. But she goes into like this rant about General, who is basically like the leader of the primes or whatever. And she's like, I can't stand General Merrick Redden, which is a stupid fucking name. But I don't hate all primes. Good ones do exist. Yeah, I mean, I guess you know because you've slept with them, right? Oh my god, in the note I wrote, congrats girl, you've just reached your lifetime quota of nuance. Now you never have to think complex thoughts ever again. That one line is like the most complexity and nuance that the author is capable of. She meets with her best friend's dad and he's like, don't worry, we're gonna take care of you. And he's like, do you know where they're taking him? And she's like, to the city, I presume. They're going to kill him. Maybe not. Might send him to one of the camps. She's like, no way, I'm not running, because he's like, we're gonna send you away and give you a different name and like basically go into witness protection program. And she's like, no way, I'm not running. I'm going to the city to rescue Jim. I don't know how to tell you this, but I feel like you don't really have the intellect to pull that off. But he's like, Ren, that's not an option. You hear me? If he was a prisoner in a labor camp, the network would certainly attempt a rescue. But he's being taken to the point. He'll have to face the tribunal. And this was freaking weird to me because he just said that he doesn't know where they're taking him. So like, why does he know all of a sudden where they're taking him? But anyway, so she's like, I don't care. I'm going to the city one way or another. The question is, are you going to help me or do I need to do this alone? And he's like, so exasperated. He's like, fine, I guess I'll fucking help you. Ooh, bro, I'm really not doing well. Ooh, what is going on? I don't know, something is going on with my body right now. I feel honestly like reading this book is deteriorating my health. I have to do it. I have to do it for the people. I have to tell them how bad this book is so that nobody buys it because it is fucking bad. It is terrible. Like literally we are reading about a main character who is a Katniss knockoff. She keeps getting herself into situations where she could have totally avoided basically all of the trouble that she gets through if she just used one of her brain cells. So we just have to kind of read a whole book of her getting into situations that she could have avoided if she was just a little bit smart. Then she goes on like a whole exposition dump about the uprising and the network and how they are everywhere. She literally says the uprising has successfully infiltrated every level in the company, including intelligence. And I'm like, if they have successfully infiltrated the whole company, which is basically the name for the government, I guess. I don't know why she calls it the company. If they have infiltrated this whole fucking company, why haven't they taken it down yet? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, they just have people there. What for? So she gets to the city and she's like flagged a person of interest, obviously, because her uncle was taken, but she gets the network to kind of erase her identity so that she can go on the train and get into the city. But she says that once she's there, the flag will return and she'll be designated a person of interest again. And she says, which means keeping a low profile at all costs. And I'm like, well, you're pretty much dead then. She gets to the execution where her uncle is. Sorry, I'm getting so lost. Anyway, so she gets to her uncle's execution and he's literally standing there with like his hands behind his back and he's facing, I think it's like 8 people with rifles who are ready to shoot him whenever. And she's like panicking and she's like linking to him, which is fucking stupid because like there's no deniability now, but also she's literally exposing him as a silver blood in front of the tribunal because she links to him. So obviously like his veins glow silver or whatever. But then just as the firing squad is trying to like shoot him, she finally incites. Literally the one thing he said would happen happened. She accidentally incites, which means she compels the people with the rifles to basically stop shooting and point the guns at themselves. This is in front of the whole city because the executions are public, so that means that there's like a crowd gathered. And so when she incites and she basically incites these soldiers to point the rifles at themselves, That is literally in front of the whole city. So much for keeping a low profile, I guess. She doesn't succeed. After he's dead, the crowd just kind of naturally dissipate, and she goes along with the crowd to get out of there because she failed at her mission. Surprise, surprise. But before she can leave, she is stopped by a commander, or like a soldier, and that's like, where do you think you're going? And then we get to possibly the worst fucking interrogation I have ever read about in my life. She's taken to this interrogation room because they find out that she is this guy's niece, right? Because she didn't keep a low profile, obviously. There are two soldiers. One of them is called Tyler Struck, which is just a stupid fucking name. Javier Ford, which is a little bit better, but also just fucking stupid. The guy that she met at the inn that she couldn't stop thinking about and that she thought was so fucking hot. Of course, he's there because he's the love interest of this book. So he has to be everywhere. Of course, because that guy is there, she has to think about how attractive he is and how annoying it is that he's so attractive. So she immediately tries to like penetrate their minds and read their minds, but they all have shields, obviously, because they're soldiers and that's what they've been training for years. They immediately are like, how were you able to incite 8 minds? She plays stupid, plays dumb, which doesn't take a lot of effort on her part. Basically saying she didn't know that he was a silver blood. At one point, she like has like a staring contest with the guy who's just like in the corner brooding and being attractive, until she looks away and she's like, which is unlike me. I never back down. Until you do, apparently. Anyway, they're like, they don't really buy her stupid act, so they keep accusing her of like knowing about her uncle and stuff like that. They also don't really buy the fact that they are ranchers, but the way that they interrogate whether or not she is an actual rancher is just to ask her about ranch life. This is the sequence of questions, okay? So he starts with ranchers, huh? Ford leans back in his chair again. How many head of cattle? 200, I frown, pretending not to understand why he's asking. What kind? Cows, some heifers. You should know. I can't help but jeer. Our cattle feed you and your army. Struck speaks again. You know, I've never been on a ranch. Why don't you tell us about the ranching life? Yes, sweetling, enlighten us. Describe a day in the life of a rancher. How are you gonna verify whether what she says is true or not? Like, how are you gonna verify if she really is a rancher or not just from asking her what her day looks like? Like, it's just such a stupid fucking sequence of questions because it doesn't actually like reveal any information. Like, she could have been a rancher undercover, but at the same time work for the uprising. Like, she can be both. This is so fucking stupid. They're like, describe your day, and it's like, okay, she describes her day. She could lie. She could just lie. How are you gonna verify that? It's just such childish logic that it honestly baffles me a little bit. Like, these are the ones that they are afraid of. These are the ones who have supposedly taken over the whole continent. At one point, they just leave her there, and then they get like this other mod who is very good at like reading minds. And okay, I feel like maybe this is because I haven't eaten breakfast yet, which is very unwise decision on my part. I shouldn't have gone into this book on an empty stomach. Walmart Katniss's stupidity is bleeding into my own. Okay, I have to take a break because I honestly feel ill. So I'll be back. Bro, I've already been fucking recording for an hour and I'm not even halfway through. I'm only on like chapter 5. Like, this is what I mean. Like, these books, there's so much wrong with them, man. At one point in the interrogation, they bring like this lady who's also a mod and who can like read minds really well to basically verify whether she's a mod or not. And I don't understand why they didn't just do this to begin with. But anyway, we've already established that everyone in this book is fucking stupid. Anyway, she manages to fool this lady. So the lady clears her. Listen, this is my thing. If you are trying to establish someone as very powerful, you have to actually show them be powerful. You can't just say that they are really powerful. If it was this easy to fool someone who is supposedly like a lethal weapon, used by the company, it kind of takes away the stakes, right? Like, it takes away the seriousness and the believability of like her abilities, if that makes sense. It just kind of negates everything that you're telling us because you're showing us the direct opposite. Anyway, so she's cleared by this woman, and the woman is like, you can do with her what you like, and they put her in the stockade, which is basically just jail. She's like linking with her best friend. She's like, Tana, you have to help me. I'm in fucking jail. You have to contact the network and get them to get me out of here. She's like, Hamlet's been flooded with soldiers and the overflow is staying at the inn. I've been behind the front desk all day and being watched like a hawk. They're questioning everyone in the village, asking about Jim, about you. So not only did woman character fuck over herself, her uncle, but she also fucked over her entire village. Anyway, so she's like, you have to contact the network and get them to save my ass and get me out of here. And Tana's like, nobody's coming to get you, bitch. Which is like, yeah, of course. Like, why would they waste energy, resources, and risk being caught in trying to save this dumbass girl who literally incited this whole fucking incident? Like, why would they waste their resources in trying to save someone who clearly does not know what they're doing and is actually counterproductive to their objective? Katniss is fucking pissed about this, and she's like, of course I wouldn't have taken their chance at running because then I would have had to change my face. And she's like, anyway, fuck that, I like my face. And I'm like, do you think that you had to change your face for cosmetic reasons? Like, is that what you think? Oh, she's so stupid. It's honestly painful. Then a little bit later, the same like attractive guy that she was like swooning over is coming back to the jail, and she immediately starts like ranting about how fucking attractive he is and how horny she is for him. And he's kind of looking her over, and immediately she hops off the mattress that she was sitting in or sitting on so that they're both standing, and she says that he still towers over me, but it's better than giving him the upper hand by remaining subserviently seated. And I'm thinking, like, why would he have the upper hand if you were just sitting down? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like these kind of comments that she comes with. She's trying to use these comments to establish that our main character is like spunky, and she's like, so she's so fierce, she's so tough, she's so independent, she doesn't want anyone to have like the upper hand of her. But it's just fucking stupid because it doesn't make any fucking sense. And he says, my name is Cross. So we have another fucking stupid name, like a Cross. And what I hate the most is that immediately after I had this reaction of, that's a stupid fucking name, the main character says, what kind of name is Cross? And I was like, bitch, you and I are enemies right now. Don't fucking agree with me. I honestly felt so offended. I was like, I can't believe I had the same exact thought as the main character, because I don't want to be associated with her in any way. Anyway, he tells her at the end of the scene that she is joining the command for some reason. Sorry, I have to eat this. I need sustenance if I need to get through this book. And internally, she's like, my heart drops as his words wash over me. Which again is like, the author has a tendency to animate inanimate words, if that makes sense. Like, she frequently says like, horse slams into me, or like his words wash over me, or like guilt washes over me, or whatever. Like, she always uses the same exact description for emotions. It becomes very boring and repetitive. Oh my gosh, she literally uses washes like 10 times. Like, unease washes over me, or a sense of calm washes over me, self-consciousness washes over me, clarity washes over me. Like, can you freaking use different descriptions? What am I doing? What is the sense in arguing about this? There's no sense. Anyway, remember when she said in the interrogation room that she was like having this staring contest with this Cross guy? And she was like, she looked away and she was like, that's so unlike me, I never back down. He literally takes a step towards her and instantly she takes a step back. What were you saying again about not backing down? Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh yeah, so she's like, if you think I'm a liar, then why are you sending me to the program? And he's like, because I don't trust you. Not one damn bit. Lieutenant Colonel Valence believes you're not a threat. I've yet to determine whether I agree with her assessment. So until I do, I'm keeping you under close watch. And she finds out basically that he was a witness to her shooting that coyote from like far away. And that's the main reason that he has interest in her. But like, why would you then allow her to infiltrate this really special operation if you don't trust her? Like, why wouldn't you just keep her in the cells? Like, why wouldn't you just send her to a labor camp? Like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, so he leaves and she instantly like starts panicking because she's like, she doesn't like being isolated or being alone or whatever. Then we have the worst crime that I've ever been a witness to in literature. She says this line: I'm a broken, pathetic girl who's all alone in this broken, pathetic world. Dani Francis is so fucking lucky that she is anonymous, because I would have sued her ass for making me read that with my own eyes. We're moving on, because if I have to dwell on that line, I will lose my fucking mind, and I will probably end up on the news. The writing is so bad, because at one point she like links with Wolf again, and he's like saying that he's looking at the sea, and she's like, it sounds beautiful, I wish I could see it. Is it choppy? Choppy? Choppy. Is the sea choppy? Is the sea choppy? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a word I would use to describe the sea. The sea's choppy. So then we have a long period where she starts this program. It's honestly just boring. There's a one point where she describes someone as surprisingly pretty, and I'm like, why is it surprising? But of course there's no rhyme or reason to any of the writing in this book. And so her whole logic when she goes into this program is that like she will just fail on purpose, and then they will send her to like a labor camp. She's like hoping that they will kick her out of the program if she just fails on purpose, but she doesn't. She can't even fail on purpose. There's another point where she says that she doesn't like to mind read because it's the greatest invasion of privacy that exists. I'm like, but you've already tried to like invade people's minds like twice. And then she's like, she goes on a rant about like, people like me rob you of that refuge, and each time I read an unsuspecting mind, I hate myself a little bit more. So then why do you use it? But also, you're kind of like buying into the villainization of your own people. But sometimes when I'm overhearing someone's deepest insecurities, I'm reminded of why I'm seen as the villain in other people's stories. Maybe don't read minds then. Like, it is that simple. Honestly, that sounds like a you problem. So not only did we just have this rant about her feeling so fucking bad about invading people's privacy and understanding that that makes her a villain, but then literally a few pages later, we have her trying to invade like Javier Ford's mind, which is like one of the teachers. I fight the urge to pry before convincing myself it's for the greater good. What's the point of having this power if I refuse to wield it? Can you fucking pick a side? Like, can you either decide that invading people's minds is an invasion of privacy, or can you decide that you should use it anyway for the greater good? And also, what greater good? What greater good are you doing? So she keeps trying to fail this program, and then at one point she's called to Crosses, the hot guy. She's called to his office because he's like the leader of this whole operation. Like, he's basically like the top dog or whatever. He's basically like seen through her attempts at getting cut on purpose. She's like, you should cut me. And he's like, no. She grits her teeth. Does it get you off, the idea of forcing women to do things they don't want to do? And he's like, I didn't realize you were so interested in what gets me off. I recoil. I'm not. His gaze locks with mine. Are you sure? Fucking positive. That's a shame. I'd be happy to satisfy your curiosity. He closes the distance between us, and a shiver runs through me when he dips his head close to whisper, I like it rough. Dear God, please kill me now. Honestly, this book is making me kind of wish that I was illiterate, because then I wouldn't be able to read any of this. Dani Francis, you are so fucking lucky you're anonymous. Anyway, at one point in the program, they're like gossiping about the other candidates, and one of the people that Katniss has made friends with is called Lydia, and she's basically like a huge gossip, so she knows all the scoop about everyone in this program. And one of them is like Cross's ex, who is like in this program for the second time. And so like Katniss asks, is that why she's here now, trying to get close to him again? And she's like, wouldn't shock me. It's her second go around after all. But if she's retaking the program hoping to get his attention, that's incredibly pathetic. He doesn't want you. Move on. Basically, another male friend of Katniss's says, damn, Lydia, behind those freckles, you're a real bitch. I love it so much when a man calls me a bitch. Oh my god. And then we have probably the worst conversation, and also the most like clear example of the main character having no fucking brain cells at all, because Katniss is like asking why the ex and Cross aren't together again, and Lydia is like, because she has all the tea, she's like, I don't know, maybe daddy didn't approve. And Katniss is like, her daddy? No, his. Lydia shrugs. The general's not known to welcome strangers into his midst with open arms. The general? What does he have to do with this? But wait, it gets worse. She gives me a bemused look. It's his father. Whose father? I feel like we're having two different conversations right now. Bitch, how are you not able to follow a fucking conversation? Like, how are you so fucking stupid that... Can someone just come and kill me? Because honestly, I kind of want to die. Literally, Lydia has to spell it out for her. That's Cross Redden, the general's son. Which, first of all, Cross Redden is the stupidest fucking name I've ever heard in my entire life. Second of all, like, how are you literally this stupid that you can't even follow a fucking conversation? That the other character literally has to spell it out for you that his father is the general, like the leader of the command. And also, how the fuck don't you know this? I don't know if I can do this anymore, guys. This might be my last stroke or whatever. Anyway, 90% of this book is honestly just the main character thirsting after the genocidal's son. And at one point she's like, it's annoying how turned on I am. Honestly, you should fucking thank me. You should count your lucky stars that I am not including any of that shit in this video, because it is so pervasive and it is so annoying to read about. Every single page, every single time this bitch lays eyes on the genocidal's son, she always has to go on for pages how turned on she is by him, how attractive he is, and how annoyed she is by that. Girl, I'm starting to think this is a skill issue, okay? If you really didn't want to be attracted to him, you should just fucking shut that shit down. He's literally the son of the man who is performing a genocide against you and people like you. Stupid bitch. Okay, so then one of the exercises is that they have to build up a shield in their minds to protect themselves from mods. And they bring in like a slave mod who basically like helps them make this shield, and everyone is like horrified because they're like, ew, I don't want a stupid aberrant to touch me. Anyway, everyone's being incredibly racist, but the thing is, the main character is also being racist against her own race, because so one of the participants, or one of the candidates or whatever, she is like her turn to test her shield, like her mind shield, because obviously you need to test it to be able to figure out if it's a good shield or not, right? But she goes up and the slave like tries to like read her mind, and then Katniss literally describes the candidate returning to her desk as being like traumatized, which is like, I feel like you're just kind of perpetuating the propaganda against your race. But anyway, someone else is like talking shit about these mods and like spreading false rumors, saying that their blood is toxic, they have an open wound and their blood gets into your bloodstream, it can instantly kill you. And she's like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I'm like, that's rich coming from you. And then she's like shocked that the people that she has made friends with in the program start also talking shit about the mods and being like, what if she touches me by accident? And she's like disappointed. Hey, remember when we talked about naivety? Remember when you belittled another person for being naive? Yeah. No reason I'm bringing that up. And then at one point she's like, so she's dumping exposition again, basically talking about how mods could walk freely among society without anyone knowing the difference before, and basically General Redden changed all that, making it impossible for mods to go unnoticed. After he imprisoned and subsequently executed President Severn, he marked the aberrant, tattooing thin black bands around their left wrists if they pledged loyalty. Those who didn't received a second tattoo, a red band to indicate their prisoner status. And then she said, it could be easy to mistake Redden's actions for mercy, even tolerance. And I'm like, yeah, it would be easy if you're a fucking idiot. Like, what do you mean slavery is mercy? What do you mean slavery is mercy? And she keeps like feeling sorry for these like candidates because they have to be exposed to people like her. Like, honestly, at this point I feel like we're getting into some dangerous territory, and I don't like where this is going. At one point she's like staring into the eyes of the genocidal son, and she's like, I don't miss the way his eyes flare with heat. At least I think it's heat. Could also be irritation, revulsion. No, that's just me. And then she goes on to describe, he's so much bigger than I am. Taller, broader, more muscular. I feel small and vulnerable standing here with him. I don't understand why this is such a popular trope in romance. I don't understand the appeal of being smaller, because the way that they keep describing it is like, so you're saying that you're like a child next to him. Like, do you not see the possible like problematic implications of what you're saying? You're describing yourself as a child next to him. Like, is that what you're into? Because that's concerning, and you should get help. There's another point where she's with General Cross again, and she again like comments on her size compared to his size. And there was this one line that I feel like perfectly encapsulates my problem with this kind of like infatuation or trope. She basically says, I play along and place my hand in his. It looks tiny in his palm. And I'm like, tiny like a child's?
Calling people daddy is gross. Stop kink shaming me. Kink shaming is my kink.
And then she's like, I run my trembling hands through my hair, tucking tousled strands behind my ears. Not the fucking Debbie Ryan move. Anyway, I have no idea what's going on in this scene because I'm honestly just skipping this book now. And then she says, I ... might be attracted to him. What do you mean might? You've literally spent this book talking about nothing else. Oh, this book is so long, and it is so unnecessarily wrong. Wrong? Yes, wrong. It is unnecessarily wrong. But it is also unnecessarily long. Literally 50% of this book is her thirsting for the genocidal son, and another 40% is irrelevant, like exposition dumps. I don't know what the rest 10% is, but it is filled with just stupid shit. Like, there's nothing redeeming about this book at all. Like, her whole time in the program is so boring that I've erased like 90% of what happens. All I know is that she tries to fail at first to get cut from the program. They don't let her, like, they don't actually cut her from the program. She tries to break her hand to get out of the program. It doesn't work. They get like this, I don't know, really skilled healer mod to fix up her arm in like 2 hours so that she can go back to the program. And there are several times where the genocidal son even starts like harassing her and like touching her inappropriately. Then for some reason she gets through to the network, like the uprising, and they tell her, hey, now that you're in the program, we can actually use you, so you should get into the Silver Elite, which is like the secret police in some way. I don't know. There is like this special unit to specifically hunt down people like her and kill them. So now finally she drops the act of being incompetent as shit. So she starts like doing really well on the tests and stuff, and nobody questions this, by the way. Nobody gives a shit that she went from being just completely useless to all of a sudden acing every single test. And what's also frustrating about this book is that she's constantly coming with comments like, oh, they're all my enemy, I'm in enemy territory, I'll never trust anyone, I'll never be friends with any of these people, they're horrible, they're so horrible against me. But at the same time, she also has a lot of sympathy for them. She literally calls someone doing an exercise in the program to strengthen their mental shield traumatized. She says multiple times that she can understand why people are afraid of people like her. She is constantly thinking of the other people in the program as her friends. She's constantly disappointed by their racist talks. I'll never trust Cross Redden or his father or any of the on on this base. And it's like, you already are though. Like, you're already trusting these people because you constantly think about how fun you're having with them. At one point, they have to jump out of a plane, and she is so excited by this that she's like, I'm really, really trying to remember that the command is an enemy institution, and I'm here to destroy it from the inside. But this is fucking amazing. And she's also constantly bragging about how she's so dangerous, she's such a weapon, you know, if only these people knew what she could do, like they would kill her. And it's like, what can you do actually? Because you haven't shown us anything in this book. Like, you haven't actually shown us that you're good at anything. Actually, you've shown the opposite. You've just shown that you're a stupid fucking bitch who keeps making terrible mistakes. And everyone is so petulant in this book as well. Like, there's one point where she fails a test on purpose, and her partner in the test is like stomping up to the teachers and is like, I demand a retake because she ruined it for me. And it's like, is everyone in this book fucking a child? She also keeps contradicting about her own abilities. At one point, she's like, I'm an intelligent person, observant, strategic. I've got an excellent memory. But literally the chapter before, like 5 pages earlier, she stared at a map for 5 minutes and she couldn't remember even half of it. So like, what are you talking about exactly? Like, is the excellent memory in the room with us right now? At another point, she describes a woman being the kind of attractive that would jab at any woman's insecurities. Because we all know that the only way to measure a woman's beauty is by the jealousy of other women. I've slept with prime men, exclusively in fact. Like, girl, I don't know how to tell you this, but that is not something to brag about. So one of the candidates in the program is like the general's bastard son, and he is constantly described as being like high, and I think he's like addicted to drugs or whatever. And at one point, it's something like someone is smoking something that is basically like marijuana. They call it yucca. I heard there's still a lot of cannabis production in Sierra Fe. Cocaine too. But it's almost impossible to find it on the continent, not without shady connections. Looking at the map that they provided, describing the country as Tierra Fe as the only like provider of drugs is definitely racist. Right. The country that's Latin American coded is the one who has all the drugs, of course. That's not racist at all. Someone dies. I didn't really care. Oh yeah, at one point she gets into like the genocider's son's office again, and she finally agrees to like sleep with him. And she's like, I'll only do it once because then I can start using my brain again. And I'm like, you haven't used your brain a single time in this whole book, so don't hold your breath. And the smut is freaking boring. I honestly started yawning and falling asleep while I was reading this. And it's funny because like while she's having sex with him, she's like, I'm worried about my judgment, my morality, my fucking soul, because he's literally the son of the genocider that's genociding her people. But then literally the next page, she's like, I should take a shower, but I don't want to wash him off of me. Again, can you fucking pick a side? So literally on her first mission on the Silver Elite, she immediately ignores any of the orders that she gets, and she starts wandering around the place that she's in. Like, she completely just forgets about her mission, and she starts like poking around the place, and she comes across this room where there's a lot of people who are mods like her, but they're just kind of like walking around like ghosts. Not ghosts, but like they're kind of like out of it. So she's so horrified by this, and she starts wondering, why are they in a place like this? The question gives me pause. Yes, why? Mental illness isn't well tolerated on the continent. The general considers treating it a waste of resources. Schizophrenia is probably the closest thing to what the fragmented experience, yet it's rare to encounter a schizophrenic. Don't fucking pull schizophrenia into this. People with schizophrenia have done nothing to deserve this. And then at the end of it, she's like, I didn't enjoy that op. And I'm like, it's not a fucking vacation. What do you think you're here for? Do you think you're just here for hee hee ha ha times? Grow up. Oh my god, she is so stupid. So another example of her stupidity is that Tana is, you know, her best friend, and basically the whole town has been surrounded by soldiers ever since Katniss took that shot at the coyote and drew attention to herself. But then once she gets into the Silver Elite, one of the squadrons go to her hometown in Hamlet, and basically to interrogate people there. I don't know for what reason, but basically she warns her best friend, even though she's told not to, by both the uprising and like the Silver Elite, obviously, but she warns her anyway, and that gets her friend and her friend's father in trouble because they get caught just as they try to escape. Obviously, like, that is what they wanted to avoid. Like, the uprising told her, don't tell anyone, don't tell your best friend that the Silver Elite are coming to your hometown because they might, you know, drag attention to themselves. And lo and behold, that's exactly what fucking happened, because the main character keeps making dumb fucking mistakes. And so they're caught. They have put the dad into an interrogation room while his daughter is being watched over by a candidate who also made it into the Silver Elite, who is constantly described as being fucking creepy and is basically coded as a rapist. And at one point, the main character is like doing a bad fucking job at interrogating her friend's father and also giving him a terrible deal. She's like, just tell us where the tunnel is and you and your daughter will get sent to a labor camp. And it's like, you mean a concentration camp is better than death? But then in the middle of her interrogating her friend's father, she's instantly contacted by her best friend, and she's like, you have to come here immediately. Like, she starts panicking and she's like, Katniss, you have to save me, like, you have to come and help me. And so Katniss gets there. Basically, she finds out that she was actually sexually assaulted by the candidate who was watching over her, who is a known rapist. So then that actually did happen to her best friend. And not only that, but that whole scene ends with her best friend being sent to a concentration camp. What was the purpose of the sexual assault, first of all? Second of all, she's like, I fought to get you this deal. A deal? A deal. The deal to go to concentration camp even though they gave up the location of the tunnel. What deal? This book is so awful. And immediately after, so at this point, her and the genocidal's son are sleeping together. And literally whenever something terrible happens, they always have sex. Like, she literally just witnessed her best friend being sexually assaulted and being sent to a concentration camp, and instead of like processing that in any way, the genocidal's son comes to her immediately and is like, immediately sleeps with her. Hi, hello, interjecting again here, because I feel like I didn't really make clear what I found so reprehensible about this part of the book. So I am here now trying to make my points more clear. I forgot to mention that the main character's best friend Tana, she's described to be dark-skinned, so she's coded black. And she is also described to be a lesbian, so she's also queer. Obviously, I found the inclusion of the sexual assault to be reprehensible because it unnecessarily punished a character, the only character, by the way, who was not white and not straight, and who also is part of a population that is a victim of genocide in the world that she lives in. So not only does the main character, even though she protects her from the punishment of killing a silver elite soldier, she still failed to protect her best friend, and in the end even sends her to a concentration camp. And I keep calling it a concentration camp throughout the video because that's what it is. Like at one point, I'm pretty sure like the main character describes how after her best friend is being sent to a labor camp, by the way. She describes how these labor camps, there's like videos of them and how each prisoner has their own rooms and the quarters look nice and it seems like a fine area to be in. The thing is, the whole book has been alluding to Nazism, and even this is an allusion to Nazism because back in the 1930s, the 1940s, that is exactly what Nazi Germany did. They released videos of these concentration camps with actors pretending to be happy. They shot it in an area that was not in the concentration camp but was somewhere else, somewhere nicer, so that they could appease the general population and basically lie to them about where the Jews were being sent. And that's literally what's happening in this book as well when the main character is describing these labor camps. So not only was there no point to her best friend, the only black person and queer person in this whole book, being sexually assaulted and then sent to a concentration camp, but the main character also describes this as if it's better than death, even though she describes multiple characters throughout the book wanting to die rather than going to a labor camp, one of them being her own uncle. So I really struggled with this part of the book, especially because there seemed to be no point to it. I honestly felt like it was an insult to victims of sexual assault. Not only was it used to dramatize the non-existent plot that was in the book, but it was also trivialized because directly after this, the main character questions why her best friend isn't talking to her anymore. So I felt like the author, not only did she write about the Jewish Holocaust in the 1940s with exceptional insensitivity, but the way that she wrote about the sexual assault and its aftermath comes off as incredibly obtuse and irresponsible. For that alone, I find this book reprehensible. Just aside from everything else that the author has been writing about and has failed to engage with in any meaningful or sensitive way. The only reason she includes any of these aspects of the book, there is no detail in them, there is no point to them other than as a backdrop to the main character's love affair with the genocidal son. When you write something, when you write a book, you are inevitably impacting someone in some way. Words are charged with meaning. They have connotations and they are meaningful to our daily life. When you decide to include something, and especially something as traumatizing as sexual assault, which 90% of PTSD patients are a victim of, you have to recognize the true gravity of that trauma, and you have to engage with it meaningfully and sensitively. But the author does none of that. In no aspect of this book is there any focus or sensitivity in discussing the Holocaust or sexual assault or slavery or concentration camps. There is none of that, because the true focus of the author was the main character's attraction to the genocider's son. Like, I'm not trying to be one of those people who is like morally policing what you should and shouldn't read, but I think it is important to gauge what implications some aspects of a book have. It is very important to think about these things and to think about what they can mean to people and what they can mean especially to the victims of the topics that she is discussing. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say, and I will let you play the rest of the video. But anyway, and she talks about him like he's an addiction, and she's like, these days he's an addiction I don't want to conquer. And I'm like, what do you mean these days? When have you ever wanted to conquer your attraction to him? Oh my god. And then we have like a Twilight ripoff. It wasn't enough that the author had to rip off blatantly the Hunger Games, but she also had to rip off not only Shadow and Bone, but now also Twilight. There's this line: as much as I try to deny it, I can't ignore the truth any longer. I am hopelessly, helplessly infatuated with Cross-Redden.
About 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him.
You couldn't even have made it less obvious that you literally ripped this off from Twilight. Like, at least try to be original. But there's nothing original in this book. Everything is ripped off from something else. Everything, every single aspect. And the funny thing is that the author literally talks about Twilight in the acknowledgements. And then we have another ripoff, but this time from November 9, because so she is like covered in scars and burn marks, and they're basically like having sex again, and he starts kissing her scars and like burn marks and stuff. And she keeps thinking like, I know they're ugly, but they're a part of me and stuff like that. And he's like, they're not ugly. And then she's like, a wave of insecurity washes over me, which the author loves to describe something as washing over her. But anyway, that's besides the point. A wave of insecurity washes over me. Got it, I say, trying to shift away from his touch. You don't think they're ugly. I think they're beautiful. Now you're messing with me. No. He runs his palm over the scarred expanse. I don't care if you got this from a pot of boiling water or an enemy attack in the last war. It's still a battle wound, a testament to how strong you are. It's goddamn beautiful. And I'm like, pack it up, November 9. The fact that literally every aspect of this book is fucking ripped off of something else is honestly insulting. And then at one point, like during the sex scene, she says, I'm nearing the point of no return with Cross. And I'm like, bitch, we passed that point long ago. Okay, we're way past that point. Okay, so then at one point, she's called into the medical bay because they call the fancy mod healer again to basically check up on all of the Silver Elite soldiers and make sure that they're in perfect health and stuff like that. So one thing I didn't mention before is that she has this huge scar on her leg because it is covering a blood mark that all mods have, and is basically like this surefire sign of someone being a mod, aside from the Silver Reigns, that is. And when she was little, her uncle burned that mark so that the scar tissue would cover her blood mark and she would basically be safe from being found out. And during this scene, she even like denies any treatment for the burn mark because she knows that once it is removed, like she will be revealed to have the blood mark of the mods and she will be exposed, right? So she completely like refuses to get treated for that. Then they go into like a date in like a cave with some glowing flowers for some reason. And then he's basically called because there's something going on with his mom. So he brings her to his house and we basically find out that his mom's mind is fractured, like the people she found on that one mission. You know, the one she compared to schizophrenia. And it turns out that she's been like this for years, but the general has just been hiding it because she's like his biggest weakness or whatever. And then after spending the whole fucking book talking about how reading minds is an invasion of privacy, here we again have an instance where she doesn't actually give a shit about privacy because she instantly tries to read Cross's mother's mind. Okay, so basically, remember how I mentioned that she had this friend, Wolf? She's talked with him a couple of times throughout the book. They keep having boring fucking conversations. One thing that he kept mentioning during their conversations is that he is always like at the ocean. And at one point he like actually described a boat having like a blue stripe and a red flag or something. And so while Katniss is in this room with Cross's mother, she walks to like one of the walls because there's this huge painting of the ocean and there's a boat on it with a blue stripe and a red flag. So she finds out that Wolf is Cross. Shocker. Like, it was not a mystery at all. Like, it was so obvious that Wolf was Cross. So they find out that they have been basically childhood friends since forever. And then they get into this like mission where they have to like investigate some uprising activity, but there's nobody there and it turns out to be a trap. And then like several of the people that were with them in the squad, they die. Except for Katniss, of course, and Cross Redden, because they're our main characters and they can't die. After the bomb goes off and the people die, they see a plane flying away. And basically, like, that was the whole point of that mission, was to steal the plane or whatever. And she thinks of the plane as their, like, our plane. Like, she starts to think of herself as the command, and she's like, confusion fogs my brain. I realize I'm thinking of myself as part of the command. Their jet, I mean. My people stole their jet. But the lines, no!
My phone died. I'm just gonna put it on charge again. It was literally fully charged, but I guess recording for 2 hours is gonna suck all of the battery out of it. Even my phone is like, just fucking end this video already. I think my phone is trying to tell me something, guys. I think it's trying to tell me to stop reading this book, but I need to... You know, I've come this far, okay? I can't just stop now. Oh my god, don't tell me. Don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me. Don't fucking tell me it didn't save the video. Oh, I'm gonna kill myself. Oh my god, I'm actually gonna kill myself. Stop, stop, stop. This has to be a joke. This has to be a joke. Oh, thank god. Thank god. Thank god. Okay, it's there. Okay, thank god. Okay, we're gonna try to do this. Oh, fuck, wait. Okay, we're gonna try to do this again. Okay, so my phone died, but I have revived it. I resuscitated it because it can't die just as I'm about to fucking finish this video, okay? I have to complete it now. Like, I'm in it. Anyway, where was I? Wait, what? So, because the uprising, they planted that bomb and, like, stole the plane and stuff, Cross obviously thinks she has something to do with it, because when they found out that they were childhood friends or whatever, that they have been talking all this time, she literally revealed that she works for the uprising for some reason. But anyway, so he starts to think that she had something to do with the bomb and the trap. And she's like, no, it wasn't me. Like, I had nothing to do with it. What can I do to prove my loyalty to you? And he's like, I do trust you, but like, I'm still pissed about this. But that is not enough for her in her mind, okay? So guess what she does? Actually, guess, because I don't think you will be able to guess. If you haven't read this book, you won't be able to guess. She comes back to Cross. So here she reveals that she is one of the mods that have more than one ability or whatever. She's like, I lied to you when I said I only have one ability. His smile fades. I get to my feet and start to undo my jeans. What are you doing? I went to see Ellis earlier, who is the healer. I bite my lip in humor, hesitating in humor? Girl, this is not funny, but anyway. Hesitating only briefly before asking, did you know he was working for your enemy? Cross hisses through his teeth. Fuck's sake. I'm sorry, I confirmed it with my contact before I reached out to him. He's been undercover here for years. She's literally confessing all of this to the genocidal son. Like, he might be modified and he might not have any incentive to expose her or the others, but he actually does. Like, he is the genocidal son. You understand that giving him this information, you are actively putting these people in danger. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. So she takes down her pants and basically reveals that she had Ellis, the healer, heal her burn mark so that her blood mark that reveals that she is a mod, that she is modified, is there. I might actually end up on the news. I'm gonna commit a crime because I feel like a crime has been committed against me. What do you mean? What do you mean that she literally heals the burn marks that has protected her from being found out that she is a mod this whole time? Like, what do you mean by that? I can't with this stupid fucking bitch. I can't. She is actually so fucking dumb. And even the genocidal son, even Cross is like, you are so fucking stupid. Why did you do this? I'm angry at you for exposing yourself, for removing the only god fucking layer of protection you had between you and your enemies. And she's like, I blink. He's right. My chest rises as I draw a shaky breath. I know it was reckless. You think? But it seemed like a good idea at the time. Like, the fact that the literal genocidal son has to tell you that this was a stupid fucking bad idea before you realize it was a stupid fucking bad idea. But now it's like irreversible. You realize that, right? Like, you've completely exposed yourself. It is so stupid. Like, it is so stupid. Like, I can't actually believe someone wrote this in a book. What do you think happens? What do you think happens after this? There is like this ball or whatever, this gala where she starts to get ready and she promised like her friend Liddy, who made it into intelligence, by the way, and she promised her that they would get ready together. And lo and fucking behold, she sees the mark on her body. She's like, what the fuck is that? Was that a bruise? She asks, but the growing horror in her eyes tells me she knows exactly what she saw. Ren, what was that? It's just a birthmark. A birthmark. Yeah, let me get dressed so we can... In a very uncharacteristic Liddy move, she lunges forward and pushes the... Oh, fuck. Like, this scene is so fucking bad. It is affecting me physically. Basically, her friend finds out that she has this fucking mark and she's obviously horrified because she's fucking racist and she literally wants to kill people like her. So she's like, what the fuck? Like, who are you? I can't believe you lied to me. Stuff like that. And then literally in the middle of this scene, while Katniss is trying to fucking convince her that, no, you don't understand. I'm actually undercover. Like, the others know I'm a Barrett. I'm a double agent. Like, that's what I'm here for. That's why they chose me for this program. Whatever. Cross's ex, who is literally, for some fucking reason, in the room across from Katniss's room, barges in and is like, what's going on here? So now two people in this institution knows that she is a mod and that she has a blood mark, all because she chose to remove her burn marks that her uncle put on her to protect her like a fucking idiot. Like, this book is so unnecessarily long. Like, it's not 700 pages or anything, but it shouldn't even have been 100 pages, honestly. So she goes to this gala. She's like caught by the soldiers and they know that she's a Barrett. Not because Ivy, who is Cross's ex, ratted her out, but because Liddy did, her supposed best friend. And her response to this is not Ivy, but Liddy. She promised. Like, she's such a fucking child. And then immediately, she's like, desperation courses through me as I try to link with Cross again. Why is he letting me in? I need him. Anyway, so they throw her in the stockade, and somehow it is just so fucking easy to get her out of there. Cross enlists his friend Javier to help her get to the Blacklands, the Shadowfold basically, and get her across so that she can go to the Uprising's headquarters or whatever to escape. They get to the Shadowfold. Cross is like, you have to go without me. And immediately she's like, no, I can't do this without you. Don't tear us apart. Don't do this. Like, girl, this is not the fucking time. You are literally wanted by the whole country. Cross goes back to his family, obviously, because he's the genocidal son. I don't know what the fuck she was thinking that he would come with her. But anyway, so she goes alone with Javier, and they cross the Black Lands, and it's been described throughout this whole book to be this barren, like, wasteland where you basically have to, like, defend yourself at every given time, because otherwise there are, like, creatures in there that will, like, tear you apart. But literally, it is so easy for her. Like, she just has a shotgun, she shoots a couple of animals, they get to, like, a shed in the middle of the Shadowfold, which I don't even understand how that works. And then they get out on the other side. And literally on the other side, she links to the uprising, and she literally forgets to tell them that she has a Silver Elite soldier with her. So obviously when the uprising comes, they arrest him on the spot. And the uprising is like, why didn't you tell us that you had an elite soldier? And she literally says, I forgot. Honestly, I forgot. I was so relieved to make it through the Blacklands that when I checked in with her, I was still riding the high. Like, girl, be so fucking serious right now. And while she's at the Blacklands and she comes across this shed, she finds a letter by her uncle that he left there for her for some reason. And the letter basically tells her that her mom was a traitor to the mods and that she killed them. And that's the end of that book. Oh, thank God. Like, even just talking. I've been recording for 3 hours. I've literally been recording for 3 hours. Holy shit. I don't know if I can ever do this again, and if I do, I need to be much more organized, honestly. I hope you have been warned. I hope I have sufficiently told you enough of the reasons for why you shouldn't read this book, why this book is terrible. Not only is it filled with absolute, like, Nazi propaganda, like, we have the main character who is literally one of the victims of genocide, or a part of a population that is a victim of genocide, and she spends the whole book sympathizing with the perpetrators, the oppressors, and the genociders, talking about how they're not that bad, and yeah, they actually should be afraid of us, and maybe I can understand why they want to extinguish us. So yeah, I feel like someone should go to jail for this, preferably the author, but most likely me, because if I see another 5-star review, I'm going to commit a crime, and you're going to see my name on the news. So yeah, that makes it for this video. I'm gonna go now because I'm sweating, and also I'm tired and my throat is sore as fuck, and I don't want to talk about this book anymore. If you came this far in the video, if you watched this far, thank you, but also why? I can't believe you made it through this video, honestly. And I'll see you in the next video if I ever regain my sanity. That's it. Bye.